Hello and welcome to this conversation. My name is Yasmina Tawil. I'm the Director of Film Programming at the Arab Film and Media Institute. For those watching who are unfamiliar, AFMI is the first organization of its kind outside the Arab world, a unique ecosystem to find, nurture, and develop Arab film and media projects. It was rebranded from the Arab Film Festival in 2017 to fulfill a broader mandate and empower local Arab talent and tell our community's stories. That being said, today's conversation is part of our 26th edition of the film festival. I have with me Ely Dagher and Manal Issa from The Sea Ahead. Ely is the writer and director, and Manal is the star. Thank you both so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. For those unaware, you can watch The Sea Ahead online on a part of our virtual festival or at the Roxie Friday the 18th. But yeah, I hopefully people are watching this after watching the film, so we don't spoil anything. Yeah, I don't know if you want to introduce yourselves any further. That's yeah. I don't know. I told you I'm tired. I apologize. But we'll just jump right into it. Ely, I would love to know where the story came from. What was the genesis? Where did the idea stem from?
Actually, the genesis of the project started quite a few years ago, I think 2016. And at the time, the situation in Lebanon was politically, let's say, a bit stable. And then there was a huge trash crisis at the time, which led to protests. And I don't know, it felt like it was the first time in a long time that was like, because we've had waves of migration ever since the Civil War, but it was the first time that I felt that people also over 30 who had established themselves here, who had kids, had started leaving again. And I thought it was important to talk about migration, but also not just from the point of view of, going abroad and the grass is always green on the other side, but actually what happens to people who sort of detached from home, get to a point where they actually have to come back. I thought that there was something that not a lot of people talked about, and I thought that it was an experience that was shared along a lot of people that were around me, like including Manal and myself. I had that for 5 years. Manal had left and came back also quite a few times. So I thought it was like a very important storytelling from our point of view and what it was like to actually return and this sort of whole idea of home and belonging and identity and how you actually find yourself in this world, which today is very kind of confusing, to say the least. So yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah, and it's a story that's only gotten more relevant, especially in Lebanon, I feel like. I was surprised to learn recently that you had started writing it in 2015 because it feels, so like set in the now. But I was wondering in that time between writing it and producing it, if anything changed based on the changes in the world. I know you started right before COVID, but did any like the revolution or anything like that change the story you had planned?
Actually, no. I just asked myself that question a lot because basically when the revolution started, we were starting in separation for the shoot of the film. So I did ask myself that question, mainly because at the beginning of the revolution, we actually all had an immense sense of hope of actually finally changing, not just something, but everything. And I mean, sadly, that hope kind of only lasted a couple of months. But usually when that happens, we all want to believe in it. So in that sense, I did question my film for a second, and I was like, oh, actually, this is what was going to happen. And what happened was that, like, the closer we got to the shoot, the worse the situation started getting, and the more people were pressed, the more started to realize that actually that we we're not going to be able to change anything on the street politically, and I mean, what happened since then has only made it worse. That was the whole crisis, the explosion. So yeah, no, at the time, I think as we got closer to the shoot, I just realized that this is like such a cycle that we've been stuck in for decades, if not longer. And in a way, the film is sort of out of time because I never anyway wanted to talk about specific events because I always thought that the population is like the accumulation of traumas that we've had. And if I look at like my own history, like my great grandfather left to the US in the 1800s and came back, and my grandfather did, and so did my dad, and so did I, and my brother, and Manal, and so many people, and like I just felt like it was not very important the specific event, but it's actually sort of the more general mood, I guess, of the region of the country that's it, and how do you build yourself within that. So I kind of extracted myself from the specific moment. And yeah, I guess that fear that's in the film of the disaster happening, a lot of people saw it as like somehow a premonition of what happened on the 4th of August, the explosion, of course. But I mean, for me, that fear has always been there. And if it wasn't this, like every 10, 15 years, you have the same major crisis that happened that's really similar effects. So yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it was important to talk about the bigger picture and not very talk about specific moments. Yeah.
I'm so glad you did that, because what you ended up with was a film that is really pretty timeless. I mean, it feels very, very current for the current moment, but I feel like it's going to be relevant for a long time. Obviously, I hope we see things improve in Lebanon, but I think no matter what, that feeling of wanting to leave and the disappointment of not achieving your goals is always it's a timeless story. I was, looking at some other articles and such, talking about the film, and I'm kind of surprised to see it labeled as like the millennial fear or something like that, because it definitely, I mean, I relate to it very much as a millennial, but I think it goes beyond that. I wanted to ask Manal about your connection to the story. Obviously, as Ely said, you also have left and come back before, but when you first read the script, what were your thoughts, and do you feel like you see yourself in the character at all?
We met with Ely in 2015. So what started, it wasn't the script that made us connect. It was more the meeting of each other's. We felt really connected in what we believe in and what we like in cinema and our stories. So this is how we became friends. And the more we met, Ely also did a good thing because he was open. He didn't tell me, I want you for the film. He was like, I'm looking for Jannah. And we discussed, and I think the idea of me doing Jannah came after we spoke a lot and found what we want to say in common. And then I read the script, and I wasn't surprised that the script was really good when I read it, because I already captured what he wants to say. And it's also, there's not a lot of personal films that are being done. And as an actress, it's really more interesting for me to act something very personal, so I can really play with real emotions and not how do we say, plastic emotions. Or no, now it's personal, we can speak, and let's act after, and let's just live it again and put it on screen. So this is what made me do the film. I believe that I didn't get any role that was that much personal to the director and to me. And we worked this way. We stayed friends on set, and we did the film just speaking all the time about ourselves and about how we feel the situation is. And I think this is what made the film really, how do we say, very intimate and very close, and not showing off anything. Because when you show off in the film something, it means you want to fill blanks. And this is not the case of this film also when I was acting it.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that there's a number of things that are sort of left up to the audience to guess and to interpret, and maybe that's also why, like, even though this is not my story, I am Lebanese, but I born and raised in the States. I still felt like it really hit me in a way that it really it just really I really related to it regardless. And maybe because it was so honest and also so open as well. Um
It's
to
raining.
my
The connection is playing with the rain.
Okay, that's what that sound is. I was wondering, I could hear running water.
Yeah, right.
Not
Um
getting here yet. I guess it's coming.
oh
Oh, we lost
oh,
her.
Yasmina,
She's back.
can you hear us? It's frozen.
Here, when it rains, the connection goes with the rain.
Oh no.
Yeah,
It
it's good
almost
now, I think.
Okay. It almost feels very appropriate since the film takes place in winter that we're doing this in winter, and the weather is here to join us. Uh,
Exactly.
um, I understand too that the two of you are not the only people who have this kind of story that were involved in the film. That you put together a crew of folks who also very closely related to this story as well. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
And also to add to this,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. What would you like to say, Manal?
yeah, I wanted to add something about this. Is that what I liked in the film, that we don't speak a lot in the film, because this is what happened in reality. When you feel this, you don't speak and you don't justify. So it doesn't mean. Yeah, that's why what also I liked in the film.
Mhm.
Because if you speak a lot, it's because we know what the problem is and what's going on with us. But if we don't know what's going on, we tend to not speak, and the film does the same exact thing that happens to someone who is lost or doesn't know what to do, and these things. Yeah, I didn't hear. It was a question about what, the last thing you
Oh,
said.
I was just asking, I understand that many of the crew members and other people involved in the film have had a similar experience to Jannah and the story. And I was just curious about compiling, that team and what went into that.
Yeah. I don't know if Manal heard.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it was. I think it was about like shared stories in terms of Zana's story, but not only. So I guess like the GP, for example,
Hmm.
Shadi Taban. I actually, before we shot together, I had never seen his work, but we connected on a personal level because the first time we spoke, I think he's also Lebanese,
Hmm.
and I think he moved to LA trying to get work there. So the first time we talked was over Skype, and he had read the script, and it was actually a very emotional conversation because he was going through very similar experiences. And like my brother, who composed the music for the song, had also left at the age of 18, went to Ohio first, and then ended up in LA before moving back here. So I don't know, I felt like this was a very common theme, but the other one, also including the other cast, because we actually, I think that all main cast were cast quite earlier before the
Hmm.
production. Because I wanted to make sure that it's people that I connected with personally and shared similar views, be it politically, be it about cinema, what I want to say. I think in that sense, it was like very close family. It's like what Manal was saying about sort of not revealing too much or what you feel like it's up to the audience. For me, it was like Manal said, like a lot of things are not spoken about in cinema, but also because for me, the reasons that they for her return, I didn't want to justify them and make them specific. One, because I think she's a female character. Two, because
Hmm.
she's an Arab character, and we're so used to seeing in cinema characters from the region, especially women, who are always shown as depicted as some traumatic event. And I feel like this is just like a legacy of like a very colonial, orientalist approach to reason, where we're always supposed to be the victim of something, but justify it to, justify basically why we're not doing well. And I thought it was important to actually not play into that game and actually speak to primarily the Lebanese audience. And I think for us, it's very important to actually portray characters which go into the generic route, what Arab films do, or what they're expected to do, at least abroad.
Yeah, and I think that plays into it being sort of, it's very Lebanese, but it's also very timeless and very relatable outside of Lebanon as well. Speaking about the rest of the cast, I wanted to ask about Roger and about, Manal, you and Roger had fantastic chemistry on screen. What went into developing that chemistry, that relationship?
First, it's always the director. And second, because and I think also the text was really written in a very good way, and it's also what we were supposed to do in the scenes is very precise, and there's a line we should go. So I took everything I would love in Roger to love him, and whenever there's a scene where I should be annoyed, I would find anything annoying in him to do. So this is how we worked on it. Yeah, very instinctive. I'm a very instinctive actress. I don't really think before working, but whenever there's something asked from me for a scene, I try to find it in the person in front of me more than and how he plays the character. I'm gonna play with what is given to me. So I think this is also why it works a lot. Also, because I took from him what I love, and I took from him what I could be annoying, and it worked as a line for Adam and Jannah.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to that what you were saying before about being very honest.
And internet is really, really bad. I hear half the words and half the things, but I think you heard me.
Yes, we heard you.
I don't know if she hears that.
I don't know.
Just to add to that, actually, because we didn't have a lot of time for rehearsal, I think we did only 2-3 times before the shoot. So it was like everything had to happen on set. Like we had, I think, 2 hours of rehearsal between Manal and Roger, and 2 hours of rehearsal between Manal and Yara Bukhaita, who plays her mom, and that's it. That's all we like. Yeah. And I really, I wanted to make sure we have enough time for rehearsal, but then that's happening. It's like it's flooding.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh no, this is, I guess.
And I feel the rain coming here, so I might have to stay involved.
Yeah, we can keep this, fairly brief, in the interest of keeping our connection. I feel like this is also a very Lebanese problem to have.
It doesn't make any sense, but every time it rains, the internet struggles or something. So it's always been like this.
Yeah. I think we might have lost her. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see one more time if she tries to reconnect, but if not, you and I can wrap up. But obviously I would love for her to be part of this conversation.
Sure.
It's it's her festival, so.
Internet went away, and I'm drowning in my house.
Oh no.
Here's the situation in Beirut.
Well, we have you back. We can
Yes.
definitely start to wrap this up.
No, let's
No, I know
finish.
I want to
It's
keep
fine.
talking. I know.
But just to know, this is my best film I did. This is my top one film.
Yeah.
And yani people who watch the film who really like it, please tell other people we need films like this. It did me really good in my life, this film, and I'm so proud of it. And yani it's I want people to know this. Yani I have 3 films in the festival. This is my top one.
I mean, I can't play favorites. I am the programmer
I
of the
can,
festival, but
I'm in it. But like, it's
I do.
always good to say these things. I feel good when I say it because sometimes they see you in many things. But it was a really nice experience, and I'm waiting for the next films of Eli. I really want to act again with him.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah.
I'm curious how this film was received in Lebanon. I was in Beirut in June, and Manal, I saw your face plastered all over the city. You had a long run in Lebanon, right? The film did.
Yeah, I think it was in the cinemas for a month and a half, a bit over.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we were supposed to have less time, but we had more days. It was good.
Yeah.
I know the reception has been great, honestly. I don't know really how to talk about these things, but for me, I think it was like almost a year after the premiere, and this was like the culmination. Because I had met these audiences abroad, in Europe, in the US, and also other Arab nationalities. But for me, I think doing it here in Beirut was the most important experience. Like I felt like it had come full circle. It was a bit hard because like the situation now is extremely difficult, and like one of the screens where the film was passing is in downtown Beirut, like in the souks, which are completely abandoned. So like if you watch the film and then you walk out of the cinema, it feels like you're actually still immersed in like that weird void, ghost sound feeling.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know, and like the whole thing was shot, pre-crisis, but then it was screened after the crisis, but then actually the city feels more like it did in the film today than it did back when we shot it. So it was a bit difficult, but also was good, I think, for me to connect with the audience on that level and be able to share these experiences and share, I guess.
We had nice Q&As.
Yeah.
That's good.
We had nice Q&As. We had nice interaction. We saw people who are still in denial also. It was also interesting.
I have to say, it was nice to be in the city and see, like an independent art house film that I loved so much, getting at least so much attention, and stuff like that. So I'm really happy that you were able to show it at home and for such a long period of time. Hopefully now we can get it in theaters in the US for all of our diaspora audiences like me. Hopefully that's the next step. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about? Anything you would like to leave our audience with? Anything you'd like them to take away from this film?
Support us for what we're gonna do next. I don't know. I know. We want people to see this film. Really, and doing cinema now is not easy with all the platforms and all the fast doing business, and we try our best to keep doing cinema as like we like to do it. So that's all. We want people to know and get and watch the film. That's all. Entirely.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I guess the most important part of the film is somehow about understanding and like understanding without the need necessarily communicating. Because for me, that's like the big takeout of the film was like Jana and her parents' relationship. And I think if more people in the world could be there for each other without necessarily needing justifications, without needing excuses, yeah, I think it would be a bit better.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that. I like stories like this that explore the nuances of relationships, because they're never as cut and dry as a lot of or as black and white as a lot of films and a lot of stories like to tell us. They're complicated and they're messy, and as is life. And you know, we make mistakes. We're with people we shouldn't always be with, and sometimes they're not always bad. I don't know. It's all very complicated, and I really appreciate you telling stories about those kinds of relationships. Yeah.
All
right.
So I think I'm gonna connect into.
Okay. Well, I thank you both so much for joining me today and talking with me about your film and letting me show it in the festival. It's truly an honor. I can't wait to see what both of you make next, especially if it's together. And hopefully, one day we can all meet in person. We could bring you out to the festival. Yeah.
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah.
Much for screening the film. I think for both of us, we should be there and actually share that to the audience. But I guess this is somehow a way to get closer and have that conversation. And hopefully next time.
Yes. All right. Thank you both.
Thank you. It's good to speak again about the film. And it's really good. Thank you.